a guy who I think probably has a better chance of being traded. Somebody also on an expiring contract. Let's talk about Quincy Williams, linebacker.
Yeah, or
Quincy
I guess
Williams.
the Williams brothers.
Yeah, we'll talk about both because Quinnen is also in the trade public zeitgeist right now. But Quincy expiring contract. I think the argument in favor of keeping him is, your defense has been hit or miss, hot and cold this year, and Quincy brings this level of energy that a lot of guys in that defense cannot provide. You also have a guy in Jamie and Sherwood, who I know you just paid a lot of money to, but he's not had a great year. I think
benched him.
They benched him. I don't know if it was performance based. My guess is it wasn't. I think it was some sort of disciplinary thing, considering it was just for a quarter. I don't know what that was about. I don't think Aaron Glenn.
Either way, the fact he's getting, as you mentioned before, he's getting disciplinary issues. Correct. He's the captain of the defense.
He is the captain of the defense. You just paid him $15 million a year, and you don't really have a viable Quincy replacement. They have Francisco Maligoa, but he is not.
Different skill sets.
Very different skill sets. I don't think he's a starting linebacker in the NFL. I think at best he's going to be a one-down run thumper, right, who could just play on early rundowns. Like, I think that might be his ceiling in the NFL. So you really are going to go into the offseason and for the rest of the year not having two starting caliber linebackers. So that's the argument for keeping him.
If we get Denver Maligoa, maybe, but...
Maybe. The argument against keeping him is, well, on that same side of the coin, you just paid Jamie and Sherwood $15 million a year. It is extremely rare. In fact, there is no team in the NFL that currently pays multiple off-ball linebackers $10 million or more per year. Quincy is likely going to be asking for roughly what Sherwood got, you would assume.
He's better than Sherwood. He might ask for more.
I think he's better than Sherwood. Yeah. So, you'll be paying two guys $15+ million a year. And Quincy, I believe, turns 30 this year or next year. There is not a very good track record of paying linebackers over the age of 30 in the NFL.
And neither of them are like world beaters individually as players.
Now, I think Quincy's a younger 29 or 30 because he doesn't have as many snaps under his belt, but he also throws his body around, and we already just saw him get banged up with a shoulder injury this year. I don't know how he's going to age, especially because so much of his game is dependent on his athleticism. So I think that is the argument against it. My take, Mike, I think he's traded. I think he is the second most likely guy to get traded. We'll talk about the most likely in a little bit, but I think he's traded. The Niners just make so much sense with Fred Warner out, reuniting with Saleh. We know Saleh absolutely adores Quincy Williams. I think that'd be a great landing spot for him. I'd be very happy for him because he'd be on a good team and on a good defense again. So that'd be good for him. I just don't see any world where the Jets sign him in the offseason. And if you're not going to re-sign him, you might as well trade him.
Quincy to the Niners might be the most likely fit.
It's so obvious.
Yeah, it's so obvious. They need a linebacker. Quincy's that good. Like, it's a no-brainer kind of thing.
Yep.
The problem, again, with I have no qualms about trading Quincy. Years of meritorious service here. Very good player.
Great jet.
Great jet. But sometimes it's just time. And I think it's time. That Sherwood contract is looking worse by the week because I think Aaron Glenn is realizing, and Muji, I think, is realizing too, this might have been his big mistake, that of how scheme-specific he really was to Robert Saleh, and Wilkes and Glenn just aren't going to run that defense here. And I think they're realizing in general how many of the guys on this defense are Saleh scheme, got Will McDonald, Michael Carter, Sherwood. Quincy, to a degree, I don't think, even when he's been healthy, I don't think he's been as good as he has in past years.
Well, that was going to be my other point, too. Even if they didn't give Sherwood that contract, I still probably wouldn't want to re-sign Quincy. Not in this defense.
Yeah. I mean, not that Wilkes is the barometer of a defensive scheme everybody should try to emulate, but
fair.
It just makes sense. Now, the problem, though, is this is very unique because he's so tight in with his brother.
Yes.
And Quinnen is a guy, I don't think he gets traded now. I don't want to trade him now. I don't even want to trade him ever. I want him to be a Jet forever. The problem is you're going to have to pay him a lot of money. Now, he deserves it. He's been good every single year he's been in the league. He deserves that money. The problem being there is just no way, outside of a crazy overpay, there literally is no reason for Quinnen Williams to play with the Jets. Unless it's just he's doing a Myles Garrett and just taking the money. Other than that, there's literally no reason. The scheme
maybe he doesn't want to.
For him. He's doing great as a run defender. It's not getting the most out of him as a pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
He has not had a winning season in his entire NFL career. He has been through a bunch of different coaches. He already said he didn't love the fact they moved off Aaron Rodgers. He might want to go. If he doesn't want to go, lock him in forever.
Yep.
But I think one of the main incentives for being on the bad team, one of the main reasons I think he's stuck around and has not demanded a trade earlier, which he very easily could have done, is I'm playing with my brother. And if you're not playing with your brother, that complicates things. It really does. Separately, like if it was Quincy Williams and then Quinnen Jones, two separate people.
Sure.
Quincy, trade him. Not even, I don't want to say not thinking about it, but they have an obvious buyer that they can look up with. They could get a good return for him. Malagoa can just hold it down for the rest of the year and you at least see maybe if there's something there beyond just being a backup, and then you reevaluate later. And then Quinnen, you work to extend and make sort of the centerpiece of this defense. But we don't operate in that world. And the Jets really got to consider that. Because if they mess this up and they irritate Quinnen even more, then you lose both Williams brothers. And then we like Harrison Phillips. We like Jawan Briggs. As pass rushers, you put both of them together, they're not Quinnen Williams. In terms of disruptors, they're not Quinnen Williams.
The Jets need to assess their situation and have a pulse on where Quinnen Williams is at right now. Like this is not something they can put off.
He's already tweeting Bible verses in the peace sign.
I don't know if
that sounds like a man who seems okay with moving on.
That's usually not a good sign, but they need to have a pulse.
The players only meeting. That's not good.
They need to have a pulse on where Quinnen Williams' head is at right now. I've been saying from the start, I don't think this is going to be a mid-season situation. I think this is much more likely to be an off-season situation, but you need to assess where he's at, because if you have a strong inkling that Quinnen Williams is going to ask out in the offseason, if you trade Quinnen or if you trade Quincy, again, it's not just because of that. Like you mentioned, he's not had a winning season his entire career in New York. There's no reason for him to want to be here unless he's just really happy living in New Jersey with his family. Then sure, man, you could, stay around the Florham Park area if it's a nice neighborhood. But I don't think that he's got the losing season. He's got the losing seasons. He also is now entering a contract. It's not a contract year, but he's got $5 million left in guarantees on his deal. He might either want a new deal entirely, or he'll want the Jets to convert a lot of that money to guaranteed money, which they could do that. That's another option instead of just working out a whole new extension. It just feels to me like an offseason conversation that's going to be had. It feels like to me that the Jets need to know where Quinnen's at right now. But based on the reporting around the situation, I don't think the Jets would trade Quinnen for anything less than one first and then some. I've seen people
I saw the reports. I think Graziano put it well. Everybody's got a price.
Absolutely. Everyone's got a price.
He's not going to get a Micah Parsons haul, but if you get, a first and a player, or a first and a third, or whatever.
If you get a first and a third, that's a conversation. Now we're talking, that's
especially depending on where that first is.
Yep.
I've mentioned the Cowboys before, and the Cowboys are going to come up a lot in this stream in terms of Jets as a trading partner. But if they trade the first that they own, not the one they got from Green Bay and the Micah pick, then you really consider it. Yes. Then I don't know.
Especially if you have any kind of inkling that Quinnen isn't happy and might want out, because he's going to have some leverage in the offseason. He's going to have some leverage on that, with his contract situation where he's only got $5 million guaranteed left. He can absolutely ask out if he wants to. He can absolutely request a trade. And I don't think this new regime would want to hold him hostage. This is a defensive leader. This is a team captain who has been nothing but a great soldier to this football team for the last, 8 years now, however long he's been here.
At a time when a lot of people could have just said, hell with it.
Absolutely. So I think it's going to end up being more of an offseason conversation. If we're going to put a bow on the Quincy and Quinnen Williams thing, I think I'd put it at 75% that Quincy is traded and 15% that Quinnen is traded, and that 15% is just if a team is desperate enough, maybe Dallas, maybe whoever, reunite with Aaron White-Cotton. Maybe a team comes calling with a ridiculous trade.
I didn't even think about White-Cotton, but yeah.
Yeah, and Solomon Thomas. Reunited with Solomon Thomas.